Millions of people know this, but millions of people definitely don't. Where I'm reporting from today is in the West Bank. This is Palestinian territory. The city is Bethlehem, which may be a name familiar to you. It certainly is to millions of Christians all around the world, because this city on Palestinian soil is the birthplace of Jesus Christ. This is the Church of Nativity, the birthplace of Jesus Christ. This ancient church usually bears a look on this square when thousands upon thousands of tourists and pilgrims throng here every single day of every single year to pay their respects and worship Jesus Christ. But today, amidst a fresh cycle of violence of the most brutal kind between Israel and the Hamas, this Palestinian city, under control of the Palestinian Authority, is completely empty. It's hard to believe, and we've been speaking to locals here in the city of Bethlehem, and they say they can't remember the last time this square, this holy square where the faithful line up in their thousands to get a glimpse of the inside of this holy church, was ever this empty. In the current circumstances, the Church of Nativity also closes early because of various considerations. Now, the city of Bethlehem is almost completely pilgrim and tourist driven for obvious reasons. I have with me here now Jose Sleeper. He's an Indian who has relocated to Israel. He lives part-time here in Bethlehem. Jose, you've spent many years bringing pilgrims to Bethlehem. It's completely empty today.
Because now tourists is not coming to Bethlehem because of the current issues, what's happening in Gaza. That's the reason.
But usually you're saying that this square, Jose, this square which I see around me, you're saying this is completely full of people.
Full of people, and it was, even we don't get a parking space here because of the tourists coming to Bethlehem for the pilgrimage. So visit the Nativity Church, where is the birthplace of Jesus Christ.
How difficult is it to come here? Do all tourists who come to Israel, do they always visit Bethlehem? Because it's a very famous place. Everyone knows it as the...
All the tourists who come to Israel, they visit the Nativity Church in Bethlehem. And always it's full. Until 7, maybe we have to wait for 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. Then only we'll be able to visit the grotto where Jesus is.
And before I went to Bethlehem, I also went to the northern Palestinian city of Jenin, where a refugee camp there was the target of a very rare airstrike by Israel on Sunday morning. Israel has actually conducted airstrikes in Jenin only twice in the last 2 decades. There have been ground operations as well, and the reason why Jenin is back in focus is because Israel believes it is from this refugee camp that Hamas was perhaps planning to open another front against Israel with equal ferocity. Here's my ground report from Jenin in the West Bank. I'm standing here on the threshold of Jenin. It's a city in the West Bank. The roadside behind you tells you which direction it is, and that is the West Bank. We're the first Indian crew right here at the doorstep of Jenin, which we're going to try and get into. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Jenin at this point of time. This is a place that has been struck by an airstrike just a couple of days ago for only the second time in over 2 decades. Now, the West Bank, much of which is under Israeli administration, has pockets under the Palestinian Authority. Jenin has been conspicuously notorious through the entire history of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, Jenin is not only a place that has been struck by an airstrike where the Al-Ansar Mosque, just about a couple of kilometers in that direction, that's Jenin you see right there, in that direction is where the airstrike took place, but it's also a place where more airstrikes will happen. I spoke a couple of days ago to one of the lead spokespersons of the Israeli Defense Forces, and this entire territory is still under Israel, and they say more airstrikes might happen. The difference between Gaza and Jenin is that Gaza is under Hamas, Jenin is under a political party called Fatah, which is a rival party of the Hamas. Now, the Fatah which constitutes the Palestinian Authority, has not been able to exercise much control over what happens in this part of the West Bank, which is the northern part of the West Bank in Jenin, which has this refugee camp, which was finally struck in that airstrike. This particular airstrike takes place on the Al-Ansar Mosque because, incredibly, Israel believes that plans were afoot by an emboldened Hamas to conduct a similar terrorist attack from Jenin on Israeli territory, using the same kinds of resources, paragliders, rockets, missiles, that kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why they took the difficult decision to conduct an airstrike in Jenin. Jenin has many different names. Among Palestinians, it's called the martyrs' capital. Among Israelis, it's called the hornet's nest because it has been a bedrock and a haven for many of the extremist groups among the Palestinians, including the Al-Quds, which is the military wing of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The Jenin is also home to the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, which is the military faction of the Fatah political party. But 2023 has actually seen much more happening in Jenin. It's a place where the Israeli Defense Forces don't like to venture in because it's very much like Gaza. It's a heavily populated area. As you can see, even from this distance, Jenin is a pretty crowded area. Somewhere right above that hill is the refugee camp as well, and it's a difficult place to administer. And that's the reason why the Israel Defense Forces have very rarely gone inside Jenin. But earlier this year, we did see some fighting taking place where there were a lot of casualties. Last year, an Al Jazeera journalist was famously shot dead in what became a global controversy as well. So Jenin continues to be a hot spot. It's over 70 years old. It's one of the first refugee camps that came up, but it continues to be a hot spot as far as terror against Israel is concerned. In Jenin, in the West Bank, Shiv Aroor for India Today.